The time now is 9 p.m. on January 15th. Tonight, Virginia's first pediatric flu death, a $25,000 reward in the Judy Boone case. We're breaking it all down right now.
Now to a major milestone for the HRBT construction project. The final piece of Mary, the tunnel boring machine's shield, was taken out. VDOT leaders call this a big step in getting the nearly $4 billion expansion project completed. The HRBT expansion project is the largest highway construction project in the state's history. Virginia Beach prepares for the possible legalization of the sale of recreational marijuana here in the Commonwealth. It could happen by the end of this year. Thank you for joining us here on Fox 43. I'm Kiana Patterson.
And I'm Katie Collette. Virginia Beach's Cannabis Advisory Task Force presented its plan to the city. It wants to be prepared in case the sale of recreational marijuana is legalized. 10 on your side's Michael Rinker joins us live in Virginia Beach with more on those recommendations. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Katie and Kiana. The last 2 years, Virginia lawmakers have passed legislation that would have created this retail marijuana industry. Both of those bills were vetoed by Governor Glenn Youngkin, but now with Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger taking office soon, it is believed that she will sign legislation if it is sent to her desk. And that's why Virginia Beach created this task force. They did so years ago to be ready for when this retail industry makes its foothold in Virginia and in Virginia Beach. So this task force is going to be making decisions on how to regulate, how to zone, and ultimately how to roll out this industry in their city. The task force has presented 17 recommendations which cover public safety, zoning, and community outreach. And in that includes things like how are they going to tax the sale of marijuana, public input, how close can retail stores be to each other, also what time of the day can they operate, and a big one is dealing with applications from potential businesses in this process, from cultivating and harvesting all the way to the retail side of this industry. Ultimately, who do they just choose to approve or deny, and also how many slots are saved for local businesses. All in all, the task force is aiming to be ready for whenever this industry starts in Virginia.
It's critical to get ahead of it and to roll out your program both at the state and the local level in an organized manner. You can look at the New York State, who went through a rollout about 2 years ago, and it was very disorganized and it created a lot of problems.
And another big question Virginia Beach and many localities are going to have to make is, where does the revenue from the marijuana industry go back into the city or locality? That's one question they'll have to answer, but ultimately they're going to wait to see which version of this bill does ultimately get passed by lawmakers and signed by Governor-elect Spanberger.
Well, Verizon appears to be back up and running after hours of phone difficulties yesterday. Americans report their phones stopped working or the SOS symbol appeared in the top corner of the phone. Verizon reports a nationwide outage disrupted calls and cell services from noon to around 8 p.m. The carrier sent out a statement explaining that they acknowledge the outage and they are working to resolve it as quickly as possible at that time. However, reports of cell issues slowing down again came in around 8 o'clock last night. We are working to learn more.
NASA Crew 11 made an early return to Earth.
They safely splashed down into the Pacific Ocean near San Diego early this morning. Officials say the emergency return is because of a medical issue with one of the astronauts on Crew 11.
It includes astronauts Zena Cardman, who graduated from Bruton High School in Williamsburg. The unexpected return cuts the mission about a month short. And this is the first medical evaluation of its kind from the medical evacuation, I should say, of its kind from the International Space Station.
Governor Glenn Youngkin gave his final State of the Commonwealth address last night. He says he's leaving Virginia with more jobs and more businesses. Youngkin also highlighted his efforts with education, citing the statewide cell phone ban, increasing teacher salaries, cutting learning loss, and decreasing chronic absenteeism. On energy, he urged the state not to rejoin the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative and to undo the Virginia Clean Economy Act. When it comes to public safety, Youngkin says his administration worked with law enforcement to address gangs, drugs, and human trafficking. Also, he is hopeful that lawmakers will continue to protect the right to work law.
Indeed, in 2023, for the first time in 10 years, more people moved to Virginia than moved away to the other 49 states. Common sense works.
Democrats criticize Youngkin's speech as well as his time in office.
Youngkin wants to leave behind a legacy. But listen up, Glenn. The only thing you're leaving behind is a mess. And now Democrats will have to clean up your mess.
Of course, a historic inauguration weekend is just around the corner for Virginia as well. Abigail Spanberger will be sworn in as the Commonwealth's first female governor on Saturday. Bethel Elementary School in York County will dismiss early because of a strange odor. School officials tell 10 on Your Side that odor started after staff members started flushing pipes as part of regular maintenance performances. Well, we are told there was a backup then in a closet. Students have been relocated, but the entire building will need to be ventilated and cleaned up. All after-school activities have also been canceled. In your health headlines today, whole milk will soon be heading back to school cafeterias. President Trump signed the bill into law yesterday, which allows schools participating in the National School Lunch Program to now serve whole and 2% fat milk again. The shift to low-fat and skim milk in schools was implemented back in 2012 during the Obama administration in an effort to reduce children's intake of saturated fats and calories, factors linked to heart disease and obesity. But the dairy industry, nutrition experts, and some lawmakers have long argued that whole milk has been unfairly vilified.
You know, whole milk is good for kids, fills them up, it tastes great, makes them more likely to drink milk as opposed to things like soda, which is not any good for them at all.
Now, this comes just days after the USDA announced a new food pyramid, which says full-fat dairy products are considered part of a healthy diet. Starting today, Patrick Henry Mall will require visitors younger than 18 years old to be accompanied by a parent or legal guardian 21 years or older. The policy will be enforced anytime after 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday and after 3 p.m. on Sundays. Now, we are told it will be enforced throughout the entire mall, which includes the parking lots, the garages, and the walkways. Well, you may remember a deadly shooting that occurred at the mall just over a month ago, in which 26-year-old DeMonte Trevion was shot and killed. A suspect was later identified as Gary Colton Moore III. He was charged with second-degree murder, among other charges. A Virginia Beach man thought he won a couple of $100s in a Powerball drawing, but was pleasantly surprised by the actual amount he had won. Dennis Baker, there he is right there. He bought the ticket last month before Christmas. After the drawing, he knew he had won something, so he stopped by Sky Mart on Indian River Road where he bought the ticket. They told him it was worth about $600. So Baker had his son check and found out that the ticket was actually worth $100,000. Baker said that he ended up sharing his winnings with his family at Christmas. I bet his family was shocked. Effort to rein in the president's war powers has fallen short in the Senate. A pair of Republicans were talked out of voting to limit the White House's ability to launch new military operations in Venezuela. Connor Hansen has more.
I think we're getting along very well with Venezuela.
President Trump says he is making great progress with interim Venezuelan President Delcy Rodriguez partnering on oil and trade. But many in Congress are wary of the U.S. incursion into the South American country.
We're still both striking Venezuelan boats in open water, and we're seizing Venezuelan oil and harming their economy.
A Senate vote Wednesday aimed at limiting the president's ability to carry out more military attacks failed after losing support from a pair of Republican senators who had initially backed the measure last week. Vice President Vance coming to Capitol Hill to break a 50-50 tie.
What the Secretary of State said to me very clearly is, we're not doing that. We don't have ground troops in Venezuela. This is not another Iraq. We're not going to occupy Venezuela. And you know what? That's good enough for me.
New polling shows most Americans believe President Trump has gone too far in using the military to intervene in other countries. As President Trump expands his foreign policy goals, similar votes to check his war powers could follow.
When you do it and you get Republican votes, it sends a message to the White House that, wow, my people who are hearing from my constituents are not happy about this.
That was Connor Hansen reporting. As we've mentioned earlier, President Trump is meeting with Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Machado today. We'll keep you posted on any new developments as they become available.
Breaking news now involving the flu. Virginia reports its first pediatric flu death of the season.
We've learned it's in the Eastern District, which includes Hampton Roads. The exact location is not known, but we are told it was a preschool-aged child.
The Virginia Department of Health is reminding everyone now to get a flu shot.
The Boone family is offering a $25,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of whoever shot Norfolk real estate broker Judy Boone. I have been communicating with the Boones this afternoon. They told me they are hoping someone will come forward.
Judy Boone was shot on New Year's Eve in her home on East Ocean View Avenue. She went to the hospital but is back home now. She hopes to be able to participate in the Ocean View St. Patrick's Day Parade coming up in March. You can read more about this story over at wavy.com.
As we go throughout the evening and overnight hours, look at the wind chill forecast into the low 20s this evening at 8 p.m. We're falling down in a few areas into the teens as we head into early Friday morning. Here's where things are by 8 in the morning on Friday. Feeling like 17 Farmville tomorrow morning, 19 in Wakefield, 22 in Norfolk, 19 in Suffolk. It is going to be a very cold start to the day tomorrow. Winds still staying a little bit steady through the day tomorrow, but they switch directions. We start to see more of a southwesterly wind coming up for our day tomorrow. And yes, it will be cooler. Eventually that southwesterly wind will work in our favor, especially heading into the day on Saturday. That's our next warm up. It's going to be very brief though, so we'll talk about that in a second. Right now, again, winds out of the west and northwest, 10 to 15 miles per hour overnight. The gusts will be a little bit higher. Heading into early tomorrow morning, we're clear. We're very cold. You're definitely going to need the extra layers. Around the midday hours, we're in the mid-30s still with a little bit of a breeze. Now out of the southwest, but with temperatures in the 30s, this is definitely going to be feeling a little bit colder. Heading into the afternoon, 40s for the most part, 30s to the north, 38 tomorrow afternoon in Richmond, 39 towards Saluda, maybe a little bit cooler for the eastern shore into the 30s, but for the south side and points south into North Carolina, again, we'll be in the 40s under a lot of sunshine. Heading into Saturday morning, that's where things start to change. A little bit of moisture out ahead of our next passing frontal system, and as this works through, bringing some rainfall to parts of our area. No snow, that's more so for well inland sections of Virginia and into the mountains as well. Maybe some rainfall Saturday morning around 10 a.m. for places like Saluda, down to Williamsburg and Emporia towards Franklin. The Hampton Road cities will have a slight chance for a shower around the midday hours of your Saturday. Winds out of the west. It's a little bit breezy at this point, but look as temperatures rebound after the front passes through. We'll have temperatures into the 50s as that first little wave of moisture passes by. Then we have to watch out for Sunday. We'll have a low pressure system riding along that stalled front, and that'll drift off to the north and east. And with enough cold air out ahead of it, we could see a little bit of snowfall coming up for the day on Sunday. Now, it's in and out really quickly, so we're not expecting huge accumulation. And if the European model ends up being right, we might not see much snow at all. Maybe a rain-snow mix at times, but again, models still kind of fighting over which, really how much snow we could get. The GFS has backed off a little now around 1 to 2 inches, but a lot of that could likely melt on contact if the GFS ends up being right. After Sunday, we are clearing out and cooling off, lows in the 20s early next week.
Stabbing from Norfolk, police say they made an arrest. 44-year-old Antoine Whitaker faces several charges, including assault and battery of a family member. The stabbing happened around 5:30 Tuesday night on West Little Creek Road. The victim is expected to survive. Whitaker is in the city jail.
Developing news in Newport News now. A 17-year-old boy is hurt after a shooting. Police say it happened around 10:30 last night on 31st Street near Marshall Avenue. Medics took the teen to the hospital with a serious gunshot wound. He is listed as stable. If you know anything, call the crime line at 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. You can also use the P3 Tips app. The American Heart Association held a luncheon today to thank those who have helped get the word out about heart health for women. In attendance was Charlene Grabowski, who in 2013 suffered what's called a widowmaker heart attack. She talked to me about her experience.
I worked really hard. I didn't eat well.
And in 2013, it all came to a head.
just lethargic. My legs were heavy, and I had a very hard time lifting my hands over my head.
She went to eat with her partner at a nearby restaurant, which turned out to be the right decision at the right time.
I was 3 blocks away from the hospital when I felt this intense pressure.
She rushed to the hospital where everything miraculously worked in her favor.
They weren't busy. There was a cardiologist on site. And I got to the cath lab in 20 minutes, and I have a stent in my left anterior descending artery, and I'm alive today because of good luck, I think.
Grabowski suffered a widowmaker heart attack. Only 10% of people who experience one outside a hospital survive it.
And a widowmaker is one of your vessels is 100% occluded, blocked. And that's the vessel that feeds the left ventricle, which is your pumper.
Now she makes sure other women know the warning signs, which can be different than a man's.
It might just present as nausea. It might just present as some pain. Men experience pain in their arm, maybe some jaw pain, shortness of breath. Women can experience all those as well, but sometimes they're a bit more subtle in women, and so we ignore them.
Her warning, ignoring them can cost you your life.
I often say, it's better to be embarrassed than dead.
Good advice. Cardiac disease is the #1 killer of women, and 1 out of 3 women will suffer some kind of cardiac episode in their lifetime. We'll have more on this, including links to helpful videos over at wavy.com.
Less than 48 hours before he leaves office, Governor Glenn Youngkin is talking about his time in office, his regrets, and what he'll do next.
Tyler Englander sat down one-on-one with Governor Youngkin.
How are you feeling about your 4 years in office and the final couple of days that you have as governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia?
Well, we're staying really busy right up until the end. You may have seen that we had 2 economic development announcements yesterday. We're working on another one for tomorrow. And I think that's reflective of what my reflections on the whole 4 years have been, which is we've been going hard every single day delivering for Virginians.
If you could pick one, what do you think is the biggest success of your time leading Virginia?
It's like asking me which one of my children I love most, Tyler. And I do firmly believe that it is the complete transformation that is most powerful. We've seen it across the state, and we've also seen it in communities like Petersburg, where you don't just pick one initiative. You have 6 platforms with 62 initiatives, and you execute against all of them. And we did that at the state level. And what we've seen is Virginia soar.
Is there anything you regret from your time as governor? Is there something you came in saying, I want to do this as governor, but you didn't get quite across the finish line?
Well, we really accomplished everything on our day 1 game plan when we came in, which was vast. I do think that one of the more frustrating moments was not being able to deliver the sports stadium deal in Northern Virginia. I've been told by many it's the best sports stadium deal they've ever seen, and it was compelling. 30,000 jobs, $12 billion of economic impact. And I think that General Assembly, and particularly Democrat-led Senate, made a terrible decision to block that.
In 2021, you were elected in large part due to education. Compared to the 2021-2022 SOL test scores, math scores for 4th and 8th graders are up in Virginia during your time in office. Reading scores have stayed relatively the same. Is the mixed results a sign that perhaps your education initiatives haven't done quite as much as you had hoped?
Absolutely not. And in fact, what we see from all of the test data are 2 big, clear messages. 1, intense tutoring works. But we also know that you cannot recover years of learning loss in just 1 or 2 years. It takes time.
You told Fox News this weekend that you thought J.D. Vance would make a great Republican nominee for president. Should people take that to mean that you're not going to seek the Republican nomination for president? And is being J.D. Vance's running mate something that you have interest in?
Tyler, from the minute that I was elected, and I really went back and confirmed this, within the week of being elected governor, I wasn't even governor yet, people started asking me about my future. And I gave everybody the same answer then, and I've consistently given it, which is Virginians elect a governor for 1 4-year term. What an honor it is to serve. And many politicians think about what's next all the time. And I have stayed focused on Virginia for 4 full years, minus 3 days. And so I'm going to stay focused. We're going to finish strong, and I think we can deliver to the next governor the strongest Virginia ever.
Around 7,000 coats were given out to people in need across Hampton Roads during 10 on Your Side's Coats for Families distribution event.
Thank you so much for your help.
Yes.
It happened this past weekend, but if you missed out, don't feel that you were left out. Despite a big turnout, several YMCAs in the 757 still have coats available for pickup.
Response has been pretty positive. We've seen quite a few people this past weekend come in, grab coats. Some people even left their own in place, kind of pick up a new one. So far, we've had a lot of really great reception from everybody.
Grocery prices continue to strain family budgets, and many shoppers tell us the checkout bill is hurting. On this week's Financial Fitness, 10 on Your Side's Karina Garcia speaks with the experts to find out how you can stretch your dollar at the grocery store. Karina?
That's right, Ashley. At this point, everyone is starting to feel the pinch at the grocery store, so we set out to answer 2 questions. Why does food feel so expensive, and whether you can actually save money right now? We asked a local economics professor why food prices feel so high and what families can do right now to ease that pressure. Professor David Feldman of William & Mary points to beef as one of the biggest drivers of grocery price shock. It went up by nearly 20%. His advice: don't cut it out completely, just buy it less often. And government policies such as tariffs don't affect every item the way you might think.
Some prices have been driven up by policy, but some prices have likely fallen because of policy, and they're unintended side effects. If you're willing to make changes within what you buy, to buy more of what's going down in price and buy less of what's going up in price, you can avoid much of the pain. But you have to have a willingness to adjust your purchases.
Now, we also spoke to an ODU professor, Andrew Cohen, who says switching from name brands over to generic branding and something as simple as making a grocery list can really go the long way.
Breaking news now, just into the Wavy newsroom. Newport News police need help finding a missing woman. Minnie Hughes is considered endangered. She was last seen around 9 o'clock this morning on Olin Drive. We're told the 82-year-old does have a medical condition. If you have seen her, please call Newport News Police.
70 degrees earlier this winter. Now we're looking at teens and the possibility of snow for the weekend. And that's not all. We've been spoiled here in Hampton Roads, but we are expecting on Friday morning in the metro area 19 to 18 degrees. Ooh. The head of the emergency department at Centerally has some survival tips.
Folks that have underlying heart disease, if you're outside in the cold and you're using a shovel, it's a lot of like isometric exercise. So again, if you're not usually out doing that type of activity, maybe find someone in the neighborhood who can help you out.